Hello everyone, I'm Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia. Today we're going to be talking about Nicholas Hammond and why he is totally a fanboy for his own movie. So if this is your first day here, Nicholas Hammond was the actor who played Friedrich in The Sound of Music. And as a self-proclaimed Sound of Music fangirl, I write fanfiction and make videos online about it, I really think Nicholas is a fanboy for his own movie. Friedrich is my favourite of the Von Trapp children, at least in The Sound of Music, but it's not so much Friedrich is my favourite as it is Nicholas Hammond as Friedrich is my favourite. And the reason for that is not because I've met him, even though I have twice. No, I think the real reason is kind of everything I'm going to talk about today. I really feel like there are a lot of things about Nicky that are very fanboy-y. Honestly, it's kind of hard to explain why I think this, because it's almost something you have to see for yourself. But if you watch interviews with Nicholas, specifically ones that also have the other kids in them, he has a way of talking about the movie that the other six don't. For the 50th anniversary of the movie back in 2015, he, Debbie, Heather and Dwayne, so that's Friedrich, Louisa, Marta and Kurt, did an interview in Salzburg with Live Share Trouble, and one of the questions they were asked was, were Julie Andrews and Christopher Plummer parental figures to them? And this is Nicholas's answer. They set an example of the way to behave on a film set. As far as being prepared, well rehearsed, line perfect, Julie never complained. Not once did she ever have a crossword to anybody. He answered that whole question from sort of an acting perspective. He's the only one of the 7 that still acts anymore. Well, 5 I guess. But it's not his whole answer. I cut one of the sentences out. Right in the middle of what I just read out, he says this.
She was 27 years old and had the entire responsibility of that film on her shoulders. Basically the responsibility of keeping 20th Century Fox alive as a studio.
I'll leave the whole video link down below. Then a few questions later they're asked about their favourite song in the movie, and as he says that Climb Every Mountain's one of his favourites, he also says this.
You know, the original title of that song when Oscar Hammerstein wrote it, it was called Face Life. And when you think about it, that kind of is the message of the song, is that just whatever the obstacle is in front of you, find a way to conquer it.
As I said, this was for the 50th anniversary, and they actually filmed this interview in Salzburg, the Leopoldskron Castle, which is the lake front in the movie where they all fell off the rowboat. And at another point in the interview, he mentions how they had just finished filming a movie about the Von Trapps in Austria at the time, which was Life of Music, simultaneously the most historically accurate and least historically accurate adaptation. And I think they were filming in Salzburg the week before I was there, or the week after I was there. Either way, I missed it by this much. The 40th anniversary DVD, back in 2005, there was a DVD extra released called From Liesl to Gretl, and it was a conversation between all 7 of the kids. It's half an hour long and he pretty much dominates it. That sounds worse than it is. It is definitely a conversation between all of them, but he definitely talks a lot more than the others. The first scene that they filmed in Sound of Music was the bedroom scene and my favourite things, and the 7 of them are talking about filming that scene. And Nicholas does a not quite 180 and talks about how he fell in love with acting and Julie when he saw her in My Fair Lady for a minute. Now that's obviously not talking to the point where people stop listening, but it's more than a tiny little sentence. And that is actually the reason I think Nicholas's experience and memories of the movie are different from any of the other kids. It was because he knew who Julie was, and none of the others did. I think at one point during the filming he actually asked the other kids, don't you know who that is? Neither Mary Poppins nor the Americanization of Emily had been released, so no, they did not. The other kids are all thinking, I get to make a movie, this woman is wonderful and I'm having so much fun. Nicholas is thinking, I am making a movie with Eliza Doolittle. I am the luckiest kid on the planet.
I actually preferred our group because I was with Eliza Doolittle. You were with some unknown Canadian.
And then Charmaine's crushing on her on-screen father. Several years ago, I think it was probably about 7 or 8, he did an interview with Angela Bishop, who's an Australian TV personality, and they also got talking on the how he fell in love with acting and Julie topic. And then a bit later on in the interview he talks about the real Von Trapps, and specifically the fact that when they left Austria and first came to America, they were detained on Ellis Island. And there's a little extra pride, I guess, when he tells her that the oldest son, Rupert, was the one that got them out of there, because Rupert was the oldest son and, well, he played Friedrich. And yeah, you could debate for a while about which one of the Von Trapp children became which one of the Sound of Music children, particularly with the oldest two. I think children 3 through 7 are pretty obvious, but with Rupert and Agatha and Liesl and Friedrich, it's a little more complicated. Did Rupert become Friedrich as the oldest boy, even though in Sound of Music he's not the oldest child, period? Is Agatha Liesl by being the oldest girl? Or was it the other way around and they swapped genders more than they swapped birth order? I remember reading somewhere that after the movie came out, Rupert got teased a little bit by his siblings saying, "Should we call you Liesl now?" And things like that. Let me know what you think about that. Which Von Trapp child became which Sound of Music child? Personally, I think Friedrich equals Rupert and Agatha equals Liesl. Now that was a bit of a tangent I went off on, wasn't it? Which is kind of exactly what Nicholas does, and this is what makes me think he's a fanboy. Because the way he talks about the movie and filming it and all those experiences is ever so slightly different from the way the other 6 have talked about it. He adds little trivia bits here and there and goes off on slight tangents. The others don't do that, because those little trivia facts and extra tangents are not the words of an actor talking about their movie. They're the words of a huge fan who wants to tell you all about the movie and all the behind the scenes details and extras and things like that because they love it. And are not things specifically confined to the knowledge of somebody who was there during the 6 months of filming. And that's why Friedrich is my favourite of the children, because I can see how much fun Nicholas is having when he was filming, and I can actually relate to it. But let me know what you think on all of this. Also, who is your favourite of the Sound of Music children? Stay safe, guys. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next week. So, farewell!